Okay, we'll get this meeting started. If you would, Madam Clerk, take a roll call.
All right, Ms. Case Snook?
Present.
Ms. Reclue?
Present.
Ms. Sabacher?
Present.
Mr. Shiverdecker?
Here.
Mr. Simmons?
Present.
Mr. Stone?
Present.
Mr. Washington?
Here.
And Mr. Braun.
Present.
8 council members present.
Very good. If we could have Pastor Williamson do our invocation. Before we do that, we want to take just a moment. We had a death in our city family this week, and we just want to take a moment of silence for Wes McCarter. And if you would, Pastor Bruce.
Let us pray together. Dear Lord, all of us together with one voice lift up this family that was part of our city family, that you love them, comfort them, and encourage them in times such as these. And I pray for his colleagues and co-workers beyond his biological family, that you would bless them. They'll miss him and his presence here. Bless his wife, who is still an employee, that each day she'll have a circle around her to encourage and move her forward. I'm thankful, Lord, for the heart of this city and for moments like this when it really matters, that other people know that we love them and that we care for them. I pray tonight for our community. I'm grateful for such a beautiful day in the fall that you've given us, yet we are reminded that we have to be vigilant and responsible for the children in school, for the community at work, for the farmers in harvest, for the police officers and firefighters in the diligence of their duties day and night, and for the American soldier, dear God. We pray for their safety, both in defending our Constitution and flag, but also they too are subject to this coronavirus and its effects. I pray, Lord, for the work that will be done here tonight, the discussions held, and I'm always happy to look out and see those that come in from the community and beyond to participate in the city's work. We're all better when we work together, when we support each other, and when we share our hearts in unison. I ask you to continue to bless our mayor and council persons, administrators, and all of those, dear God, that lead this city in your work each day. I want to pray a week ahead for the solid waste department. Next week is fall cleanup. Those folks have to lift a lot of heavy objects during that week, and I pray for their safety in doing so. Lead this session tonight, dear Lord, and I pray, Lord, that you'll bless every thought, every discussion, and every decision according to your perfect will. We pray in Christ's name. Amen. Amen. Face the flag. Attention, salute, and pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Pastor.
Should I put in the push? Normally is. Yeah.
All right, at this time we take comments from visitors. If you have something that you'd like to speak to the council about, just come up to the podium, give us your name and address, and keep it to 5 minutes or less.
Mr. Mayor, that podium is a little close to Bill, and if you had any speakers coming, you probably want that back. What do you think?
Okay. Thank you for that. Okay, seeing no one come forward, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Council members may choose to remove an item for discussion prior to approving the agenda. The only item we have tonight is the JC's Christmas Parade. The request has been approved by Chief Myers. We'll have police assistance that day, and I would entertain a motion.
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
And opposed, no. Okay, unfinished business. We have on the agenda tonight, recycling, yard waste, and household hazardous waste. We did discuss this earlier. There still seems like quite a bit, maybe more to talk about to get to a decision on what we want to do here. It seems like we had a pretty good consensus that we should raise the tipping rates for the blue cards. For sure. Is that something someone would like to make a motion on?
I make a motion we raise, are you talking the blue carts?
Yes, sir.
I make a motion that we raise the rates for the blue carts to $5 a month.
Second?
Okay, and the what we talked about earlier was $2 instead of $5, going from 1 to 2. But you think 5 is more appropriate?
I feel like this needs to be discussed much more before we come to something of that
Well,
nature.
we needed
were
a
cut
number,
short
so I gave a
tonight,
number.
and
So now we can discuss it.
That is correct. We have a motion and a second on the floor, so now is the time for discussion on this.
I personally think 5 is a little bit excessive.
Okay.
I think 2 is a step in the right direction. We can always move forward with something like that and see what the cost does for next year. Maybe raise it again next year, but that's my opinion. This is just one little facet of all these decisions that we're being asked to make here too, so just keep that in mind.
Mr. Mayor, I kind of agree with you. I think that's a little jump. I used to hear an old saying says that don't shear the sheep, don't skin the sheep. So I think we need to just gradually raise that, okay? I believe $2. I agree.
John, you had an opinion about $5. What number?
I'm not saying, I don't know what the right number is, but we were cut short tonight on any discussion, and then we want to jump right into the increase without talking about everything else as well. That's where I have the issue. Not that the dollar, I don't know what the right dollar is.
Yeah, I don't either. I just picked a number.
Yeah, that just seemed to me to be one simple thing we could knock out, but
Yeah.
Well, I also think if we're going to raise the cost of the blue carts, then we need to make it mandatory that you have a blue cart before your recycling is picked up at the curb.
And I agree, especially if we're talking, the truck driver's got to get out of his truck
I agree.
50, 70 times a day.
Yeah.
I mean, that's hard on him or her.
My concern will be the citizens that choose not to recycle are going to request for a reduction in their $17 a month fee because that fee currently includes all citizens being able to use the recycling program.
Yeah, but
So-
we're already talking about raising the fees, and instead of raising the fees, we're trying to do something that only the people who actually use the recycling use.
And I understand. I'm just saying part of the monthly fee includes the recycling program. So if we're going to offset that in a different way, then all the citizens that don't use the recycling program I'm saying that's going to be something we'll hear about.
Well,
Right.
the current trash rate also includes the household hazardous waste and the yard waste drop off and things like that. Not all citizens take advantage of that either.
I agree.
Twice a year special pickups.
Yeah, sure.
Right, but you're right in saying that right now, those items all include that.
Right.
But if we change this to where we're raising the price of the carts, and you must have a cart to get recycling, now that no longer applies. The only one that applies is this extra $2 now pays for you to get recycling.
Could we ask Wendy, do you know how many are recycling, and I'm pretty sure I saw it somewhere, but I do not remember. How many are recycling but not using blue carts?
I think it was 50 to 70
50 to 70 a day.
50 to 70
I knew I saw it somewhere, but I didn't.
A day.
a day. And we might have one that just has a little Walmart sack.
Right.
Or they might have a box full of stuff or a plastic tote. So. Or they may have 20 bags. Or they may have 20 bags.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Yes.
think what happens is when you have a cart, it helps you when you begin to all your trash, because sometimes all your trash that you may have for that whole week, just almost overflows your container. But when you're able to recycle and have an extra container there that put all your plasticware and stuff in, it helps. I believe it helps make sure that you have enough room in your container in your green container to be able to do your trash. So I think it's a plus.
Do we have options for different size containers? So what if, instead of making the container mandatory and possibly discouraging people who only recycle a little from participating in the program, we give them the option at perhaps a $2 fee for the large blue bins, but then a $1 fee maybe for the smaller blue bins? Or is there a way that we can provide some sort of...
one size.
We started out with 3 when we very first started the program.
Yeah.
But not a lot of people wanted those smaller containers. Right. So the people that have those like them, but we haven't ordered anymore.
Hey, Robert and Wendy, do you guys actually want to come up front? And that way we can make sure we hear both of you guys on the... You're good, you're good.
So how long ago was that, Wendy?
Ooh,
Forever. They were a container about this big.
Probably.
10, 12 years ago.
I think
Yeah.
the smallest
Just say
one was
11
a
or 12
45
years.
gallon,
Yes.
and the larger ones are a 96 gallon, and there was one in between.
So do you feel like the usage of this program has increased since then overall?
Yes.
Enough that it might be worth putting it out there
Yeah.
again, just to see?
Yeah.
I don't want to discourage people if we say you have to have a blue card. I've had people approach me that, for example, an elderly person that lives alone,
Yes.
they have one bag of trash a week. They pay the
Exactly.
$17 that I pay with 5 of us,
Yes.
and sometimes my lid's popped open.
Exactly.
So I'm fearful that we're going to discourage people when we say you have to have a cart. Well, fine, I'm not going to do it at all, chuck it in the trash. But if we give them an option for a smaller cart at a lower rate, at that dollar rate.
Well, the reason we did the smaller cart to start with is because the larger carts were kind of unwieldy. They were harder to maneuver. We didn't do it, we do not have a volume-based trash service. So we did it because the smaller carts were easier for some people to move.
Sure.
It wasn't because they didn't have as much recycling.
But we've seen an increase in the usage of the program. Perhaps that's just another avenue we can take.
Well, and with a list of items that are actually being recycled, the smaller carts may be more feasible. I mean, I was just reading only 9% of the items that are going in recycling bins is being recycled. So 91% of plastic is not even being recycled right now.
So we put some more clear information out there about what we can accept. Maybe look at a smaller cart for some. Some people may still want the larger ones, but we increase the rate there. I just don't like giving them no option. I think that there's empowerment and options, and if we give them the choice, they're more likely to participate, I think.
It's also kind of a question of fairness. If I'm paying the $1 or $2 or whatever dollars it is to get the blue card, is it fair that the other citizen that's not paying any more gets to put theirs on the curb, make it harder on our staff? It's almost not fair, if you think about it that way.
That's my perspective, actually.
And then the fair's on the other side of, if you choose to use a blue cart, then I'm the one being financially penalized for using a blue cart.
The $1 was okay because it was the convenience of having the cart, something to put your recycled material in. $2 is still a convenience. It's not a big deal. Start getting more than that, then you're going to lose that convenience, and it becomes, maybe I don't really need to do that.
Because I think the cart was just, hey, let's make it easy on the staff to do it. It was never meant to be the funding source for the recycling program. It was
Correct.
simply to say, well, if you get a cart, you'll probably have it at least 5 years, so $1 a month will pay it off in 5 years at least. You know, and now we're looking at using the cart as the funding source for the program, which I believe is the wrong direction to go. If this is a program the community wants, then we need to look at raising the fee across the board. And I think if we get the information, and we get the information out there of what is recyclable, what has value to the recycling program, then that's going to reduce the volume, and it's going to increase the value of it. My opinion is that's the first step.
Okay, keeping in mind that it went from $40 a ton to now $140 a ton. So it's costing us to run this program. And that cost keeps going up.
Yep.
I mean, it's kind of locked in right now, but understand with education, you're going to have more people know what is recyclable, but our costs are not going down.
But if the volume goes down of what I'm putting in the recycle bin because I'm putting the more appropriate item in there, then that total cost will go down.
Can you buy your container?
No.
If we have ownership, where
No.
you can, I'm talking about the blue container?
No.
And then, okay.
I mean, the city buys them, is that what you're saying? Or are you saying
Well, I'll say, can you personally, I'm talking about buying from the city, so after I purchase it, then I'm just being charged my regular $17, and I can take advantage of it now, and I can go ahead and continue doing my recycling. If we buy from the city, their cost is this, and once you paid for it, you got a container, and that's going to help the city out?
Bob,
Yes,
basically the way it is now,
yes.
you could buy your own container. It wouldn't be a blue cart from us. You could buy a blue trash can at the store and say, that's my recycling container, and set it at the curb. Okay?
Okay.
The way it is today.
Okay.
If somebody did that, though, we would still use the arm to pick it up and dump it.
Actually, that driver gets out of the truck.
Yeah, they
gets
don't
out
use
for
the
that,
arm at
yeah.
all on
He
these.
doesn't, yeah, there's no.
Oh, he
arm
hooks
for
it to
the
the back of the
recycling.
truck and dumps it.
This is just
If
For
we
each.
required a cart, at some point in time, we would be able to go to the one-arm band to pick it up.
If we have a single-size cart.
Right. Well, a big enough, anyway. Big enough that the arm can grab and dump it without.
Yeah.
It'll grab it, so if we buy it,
That's a big.
we would still have to run, which would get us away from needing a dual, right now we have a dual hopper truck. One side's for yard waste, one side's for the recycling. Okay? We would still have to have, we wouldn't have to have a dual hopper truck anymore, but we would still have to have a rear loader for the curbside yard waste.
Yeah, for the yard waste.
All right, well, I'm going to reiterate real quickly that we have a motion and a second on the floor to raise the blue cart fees to $5 a month. So I feel it's probably appropriate for us to decide that one way or another before we continue on.
Or can I revise it?
You could amend your motion.
Okay, so it sounds like from this end of the chamber that people would prefer to see a $2 a month raise, and you have to get a cart. Before I make the motion, is that kind of the consensus we're going to?
I think we're split on the mandatory part of that.
I think it needs much more discussion.
I agree.
The other thing that could occur is you could vote on the motion that's on the floor right now and then continue discussion at that point. Whether you want to make a new motion for a different price amount, I mean, at that point, the floor is pretty open.
Yeah, if you left the motion that's on the floor now, we could just kill it, move on. There's so much more to talk about too, so.
Yeah.
All right, so should we probably go ahead and do that then? Take that vote?
I think we should,
I think
yeah. So we have a motion and a second on the floor. Is there any more discussion on that motion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor say yes,
Yes.
and opposed, no.
No.
I don't need you to raise your hands. Thank you, though.
All right. So the other options to get our funding up in general, where we need to be with trash, the proposal, well, one proposal is to raise our residential rates $1 a month, and then also raise the commercial rates 5%. That together would give us another $104,000 to get us more in the black, so to speak.
How long have rates been at $17 for residential?
Not that long.
2 years?
Longer than that.
Longer than that?
Probably about
I
5.
was going to say 5.
At least.
Okay. And that's for each trash can you have?
Yeah, but commercial just went up
That is correct.
about a year ago or 2 years ago. So, and I'm kind of opposed to raising commercial to cover the shortfall from recycling. So we can't do that.
Is the hazardous
Unless
waste,
we're going to allow businesses to recycle also.
Is it a shortfall of recycling or a shortfall of the program?
Well, the
That's what we need
discussion
you to
is a
tell us.
shortfall in recycling. So that's kind of how we're looking at it.
if that's not the truth, then we need that detail as well.
You mean what?
If the shortfall is not due to recycling, then we need that detail in order to discuss any other rate increases.
Okay.
Because again, the 3 programs that have been brought, as Rick said, it's the hazardous waste, the yard waste, and recycling, and none of those right now are available to the commercial pickup.
It was one concept presented as a way to generate the necessary funds.
Understood. And if there's a shortfall on the commercial waste program in total, then that's something that we just need to know.
Yeah, it's a separate thing to discuss. So.
Robert, do you remember, and I know we've asked for it, and I'm sorry that I don't have the number in front of me, what it's costing us to get rid of recycled trash right now over the $40 that we're paying for regular trash? What that difference is on a monthly basis? Because that's the shortfall that we'd be looking to make up, in my mind.
4 tons a week times $100 a ton times 4 weeks? That's the number that's in my head is
I
we
don't
average
remember.
about 4 tons a week of recycled material.
Well, but you also have to look at the cost of the truck and the cost of the operator, and the recycling is very light. In a truckload, we may only get 3 or 4 tons of recyclables in the truck before we have to take it to Jeff City. Whereas in a garbage truck, we'll get, Wendy, 10 tons, 12 tons? For the same 30, 60-mile round trip we make to the landfill.
That may be in your deal report.
So I don't think you can just look at the cost of disposal. I think you have to look at the cost of collection as well.
John, I don't have it with me right now. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I believe the annual total is 25,000. Is that about right?
For
Tipping for recycle?
Yeah, that's $2,000 a month.
I think it's pretty close to the 4 tons a week. And that's the $100 difference between trash and recycle. So
But it does add an extra truck and tip. So.
yeah.
Well, as of August of 2020, we had paid $14,006 for 99.76 tons of recyclables. So that's what we paid so far. And we didn't pick up recycling for a few months.
Right.
Yeah,
Thank you, Wendy.
Those of you that weren't here for the work session, we did also talk about tree and brush removal. A couple of thoughts came out of that. One of them was to move the dumpsters from the fire stations out to the warehouse, which might make it more a little bit more easy to monitor that a little bit and keep some of the commercial vendors from using that. Post some signage. I don't know if it's feasible, but at some point we might be able to camera that area. I don't know if it's that big a deal, but we could do that. Another thought was to move it to the landfill and do it once a week. Is that what we were talking about? Saturdays? Open up for 4 hours. Of course, we would have to staff that and kind of monitor that. Monitoring that would be harder being such a remote location, I think. But
What about cameraing the current locations and posting that those locations are being monitored?
We have cameras.
There are cameras.
There are cameras.
Okay.
They're not the best, but you can sometimes see the license plate or whatever else in the traffic.
So we've had a lot of,
Or a sign on the side of your truck.
So there's already cameras there, that's what you're saying?
And so have we explored that at all? Have we contacted those that we were able to identify?
we turned it over to the police a couple of times.
Yeah.
Turned it over to
Do we-
Okay.
We have a lot of people that dump trash there also.
We have a sign that says illegally to dumping trash, you can be fined, you're under surveillance, some kind of warning for these people when they do that, you are under surveillance. We do have your, we do have your license plate, just for them to have that information and it's sit there right there and here they dumping trash. And I don't know if we have an ordinance for a fine for that, or do we need to draft one up so we can then enforce it and maybe give some of these people think, man, I got a ticket. Yes, you did. And the kind of thing, something like that. I think if we don't have, we probably need to draft one up. And I like for it, if we can put it out there by the city warehouse, I think it's going to save one thing. You don't have to travel all the way over there to get this. And now also you have the equipment to, if you need to pick up stuff and put it in the dumpster and things like that. So I think it makes it accessible for your guys to worker. It's right there. We don't have to travel very far. So that's what I'm more in favor of being out to the warehouse.
And we could move it out next to the fence at the warehouse as an interim measure and see if it works.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't work, we've got two other options.
Yeah.
The only
Obviously
thing
more
I think is
expensive, but
the warehouse is just as inclusive or exclusive or whatever you want to say as where they're at now. I mean, it's still out of sight, out of mind. People are still going to dump there on the weekends when nobody's in the warehouse area. So I don't know that putting them outside the fence is going to make that less of a problem.
well, it sounds like what we're doing now isn't working real well.
Right.
So we need to do something.
I'm not opposed to moving them over next to the warehouse or around the warehouse or whatever. I'm just bringing that out there,
Yes.
that because of where the warehouse is, that it's still secluded.
Right.
So,
But it might work.
Yeah.
it could.
I think once you put some fines to it, you'll start curbing that stuff. I'm quite sure you will. Especially if you say, hey, we got you on video, this is your license plate, this is what's happening. You can come and see it if you want to, say, hey, I wasn't driving. Doesn't matter, it's your vehicle. So.
And I'll reiterate, like I did at the last meeting, that we've gone down that path before with the ordinance and fines. I know Chief Myers and I have had that discussion before with the city's prosecutor. That is not something that has moved forward. So that might be a discussion that the council would want to have with the prosecutor. At this time, I don't necessarily see that as a viable option since we've been down that path.
I think it's worth the conversation again.
Yeah, how long ago was that, Courtney?
I want to say that was 2 years ago, 2 or 3 years ago.
Okay, I'll just look at it.
Most of these things aren't new.
Right.
They just keep coming up later.
So is there, Wendy, what's your thoughts? Would you prefer to have the dumpsters at the warehouse or leave them where they're at?
It would be a lot easier to get equipment to pick up the yard waste off the ground.
I think
So
that's more of a
instead of driving
savings there.
clear across town to the Tennyson Road Fire Station. And our department doesn't have any equipment, so we have to call the street department or the gas department, so that would make it more convenient. But I do worry about all the traffic that goes in and out of the warehouse. I don't think they need to be behind the fence that our employees are behind.
No, I don't.
Right.
Yeah, that's going to cause a wreck.
Right.
Yeah,
If anything, we could add an extra fenced-in area
yeah.
at some point, but yeah, I think it's a good thing to try for you guys. Do we need to make a motion on that, Bill, or?
Yes, if that's what you want to do, it's one move. Kyle, we can find where's everybody's at? We can find someplace out there, couldn't we?
Do you need a motion for just to move it?
Or I think everybody's in, I was going to say yeah, but if everybody's in agreement with that, we can just do it. Okay.
Do it.
We need to make sure that all the citizens are aware,
Yes.
so that they don't show up with a truckload and then just, dump it anyways, even if the bins aren't there.
Initially, you're gonna find it on the ground, because if the dumpster's not there
They're still
on
ground.
Tennyson, they just throw it on the ground.
Yeah, we'll have to add signage probably to the old locations.
Yep.
Hey, go to
Put
the
some
new city warehouse.
Tire strips.
Yep.
I would also keep them under surveillance also, video surveillance. So.
So we've been on this topic quite a while. It sounds like we may have some extra questions at some, over the next week or two that we can get for the council if y'all would so choose to move on.
Did have one question, Mr. Johnson, are we accepting the $10,000 a year from the county for the hazardous waste?
Are we what?
Are we accepting?
It was
the
just offered
10,000?
today.
It was an offer.
Okay.
And that's up to the city council if they want to, because for us to take money from the county is probably going to take an ordinance.
Okay.
And the household hazardous waste is done for this season, right? Well, yeah. No, we got one more. We got one more.
Okay.
So we wouldn't be able to accomplish that, so we have until maybe basically April.
And that money wouldn't be retroactive for 2020?
I can ask, but I doubt it.
It's worth the ask.
It's worth the ask.
I think we need to pursue at least that amount at a minimum and then continue conversations.
Very good. Unless there's no more discussion, we'll move on to new business. Thank you all.
Thank you, Wendy. Thank you, Robert.
Tamara Tatesian is here from the Chamber of Commerce. She's the executive director and will present a quarterly review for the organization. Hi, Tamara.
Thank you.
So here we are again. Can y'all hear me? Fine? Yes?
John.
I talk loud anyway.
Huh?
Surprise. So thanks for having me here tonight for our report out. I guess this is our third, fourth quarter, not really sure. This pandemic's had us all messed up. But anyway, let's get this started. So first of all, before I report out, I really want to take this opportunity to make sure that you all are aware of who the chamber team is. Not that you don't know their names, but sometimes you just don't know their faces, and that are the ones that are doing the work behind the scenes. So Justice Smith is here. She's the one that did your video. Justice is our marketing and special events coordinator for the chamber. Not only does she do marketing for us as the Chamber and the Fulton Area Development Foundation, but she does a lot of work for the businesses here in our community to help them market their business. She's actually got a webinar this Thursday on marketing and helping them develop ideas for a marketing grant we're getting ready to do. She also does our special events, anything from business breakfast to annual banquets. She does that planning for us. And she's doing a great job. She's been here since April of 2019, so she had a little bit of time underneath her belt before we had this glorious year. But she is doing a fantastic job pivoting us into doing different things so that we can continue to do our work as a Chamber of Commerce. Then we have Shane Moriarty, and some of you all may know Shane. Shane worked for CWEB, the Central Workforce Investment Board, prior to coming to work for the Chamber. He did a health care grant there, worked with the Missouri Job Center. So he came before you all as a council when we were working on some of our welding programs and stuff like that. Shane came on board as our business relationship manager on March 1st. And then about 20 days later, we had this pandemic. He was very eager and excited to get out and meet the business owners and learn about all of the businesses here in our community. And he's had to kind of do some different things when he first got started by making lots of phone calls and getting to know people's voices. But now he's had the opportunity to actually get out and visit those members and learn about their businesses. So that is Shane. Just wanted you all to have those faces to go with the names that you hear about. So, what have we been doing, the Chamber team? What have we been doing? Well, we have been supporting the business community. I've kind of put the first part into about 3 buckets for you. Communication, webinars, and marketing. So communications, you probably have received hundreds of emails regarding what is going on, information to just educate the business community on what has been happening with the pandemic to assist them in maneuvering through this. Now, we haven't just sent out emails regarding completing the SBA loans or the pandemic unemployment or even the expanded FMLA without knowing what it was. We had to educate ourselves in order to educate our business community so they were well informed. This took time for webinars, this took time for just questions and asking our partners and the relationships that we have built throughout the state to help us understand a lot of these things, because those are not things that we would deal with on an everyday basis. But we made sure that we were able to do that and able to answer the questions for the business community once we hit that sending that email. Now, believe it or not, a lot of times when you're just trying to get educated on things that you don't deal with on an everyday basis, it can be overwhelming, especially when that information is not just changing every day or once a week, it's changing by the hour during the pandemic. So we really had to do a good job and continue to do a good job to make sure that our business community is well informed. We couldn't do this without our partners that we have. We have a long list of partnerships that we've developed over the last 5 years, building those relationships with the Missouri Department of Economic Development, the Division of Unemployment Security, Small Business Administration, the Small Business Development Center. And so not only did these partners help us answer questions, but they also helped our businesses by providing webinars that we sponsored and hosted throughout the year and continue to do. We've done about 46 webinars since the 1st of April. We started with doing a Callaway County community update, and we were doing that every week just to educate our businesses on what was going on. We had Mayor Cannell and Mr. Johnson on there, along with Callaway County, and also the other representatives for the other communities. So we just get on there, talk about what was going on, COVID in their communities, and then they also had an opportunity to talk about business that was taking place within the cities. And I think that it's become a real good, useful tool for a lot of the businesses to really know what's going on if they can't attend like meetings that are being held here tonight. Other webinars that we did was like social media presence. Just as soon as the pandemic hit, and businesses started to close, we started seeing businesses kind of go radio silent. And we had to say, hey, wait a minute, just because you're not open doesn't mean that you don't need to have a presence, because you need to keep your name out there. So we educated them on that, as well as learning to Zoom. And as you all know, that was a fun game, wasn't it? So we wanted to make sure that they were educated on that as well. We did a lot of other things like payroll protection program, the EIDL loans, the FADF Small Business Recovery Grant, utility grant, and just the County CARES Act money that's out there right now. So we did a lot of those webinars throughout this time. And then marketing. Justice has done some fun things that has brought a lot of attention to a lot of businesses. And if you're not following us on social media, on Facebook, Instagram, or our new website at www.callawaychamber.net that launched in July, please do so, because a lot of this information is out on our website. So there's been a lot of really cool things that has happened, but we have to continue working towards that end goal, and that is keeping our businesses going. So economic development, what is it? Sustaining the current businesses, diverse industries, strengthening our community, developing a talented and skilled workforce, and maintaining a high quality of life. And you all help with many of these on this list. But the very, very first one, sustaining our current businesses in our community, is the thing that we need to focus on right now. We need to make sure that those businesses stay open and that they're thriving. And we know that businesses are still suffering, but they're still trying to move forward and continue to operate the way that they are. So some things that we've done for sustaining the businesses, the CARES Act Committee actually allowed the Fulton Area Development Foundation, our sister organization, to administer a couple of grants to help the small businesses, because we are in contact with a lot of them. The first Small Business Recovery Grant was for $500,000 for the small businesses and $85,000 for the not-for-profits. The utility grant, they've allotted $300,000, and for the marketing grant, $400,000. And so that's about $1.2 million that they have allotted that's for that small business sector here in our community. Now, the COVID-19 Small Business Recovery Grant, what we did as the Fulton Area Development Foundation is we sent out 475 packets to the business community. That way they had the information and the application in their hand. And it drew some attention because the CARES Act Committee, when we were doing the first two rounds, we were seeing we weren't getting a lot of applications, and we really needed to get the attention from those businesses. So as we sent those applications out to the mailbox, guess what happens? People start calling. How can I apply for this? Of course, because we have sent you an application. We want you to apply for this. And you have other things. So as we were going through these applications, they were telling us their story of how they were impacted by COVID-19, which helped us understand what we needed to be doing going forward. But also on those applications, if they said, I spent money on PPE and hand sanitizers and plexiglass, then we were going back and calling them and saying, you know, you qualify for round one of the CARES Act funds. So it kind of went hand in hand and assisted us in talking to those businesses and having that communication with them. To date, we have approved 226 of those applications, and we've paid out $2,000 to each one of those 226 applicants for $452,000 that went back into those small businesses. The next grant that we started was the utility grant for the small business. That was to help pay their utilities for their electric, water, gas, and internet for April and May. And that was up to $5,000 per business. To date, we've had 39 applicants, and $65,000 has been paid out. Now, we've had some more applications that we have not processed yet, but we're working on that. And then yesterday, we were able to launch the marketing grant, and that was just released yesterday. Tomorrow at 10 a.m., we'll do a webinar on the marketing grant. We want to know what their plans are and how they plan to market. Shane was telling me out in the hallway just a few minutes ago that we've got a couple of people that are going to help partner with us to help offer some special discounts and stuff for our businesses here in our community so that they can get the marketing done and the communication out about their business. So that's pretty exciting. So sustaining business, we're working with the businesses to assist them in maneuvering through this pandemic. 474 calls and visits have been made since March, talking to these businesses, visiting them, understanding, sitting down with them. You know, there's not just the grants that the FADF are doing or the CARES Act money, but there's been the Small Business Recovery Grant at the state of Missouri, which is a very lengthy application, and some businesses could get up to $50,000. And so we've had to sit down and help businesses complete those applications as well. And we do know that we've had some wins from that, which is good news for our community as well. So, some other things that we've done are pop-ups and showcases. I've just kind of given you a list of some of those. Those have been fun events, but they've also really brought some attention to the businesses here in our community. People love to see Justice on Facebook Live. She has her own little personal following, and people flock in there to get the free gifts and to shop. And a lot of people, they don't even realize that the shops are there. So it's bringing attention, and that's something we're going to continue to do and to grow in the coming year. Also, I'm just going to remind you, whenever I was here in May, I was talking about our community highlights and some partnerships that we had done. Our Leadership Callaway, they graduated through a virtual graduation this past year, which we hated for them, but they embraced it and they rocked it. But their project, you know, Leadership Callaway always has to have a project at the end of the year in order to graduate. And so they did their project for our house. They were going to do it at our house, but they had to turn it into the virtual project. But they raised $5,100 to help our house. That helped them with their goal to be able to stay open 24/7 until the end of June, which was amazing that they were able to accomplish that. The Callaway Chamber and the Callaway Bank performed a project for SERVE, raising more than $630, and it was a fun activity for the community. Got a lot of community involvement. And then the hashtag Callaway County Strong t-shirts, we sold 444, raising $7,200. So that was $12,980 that was invested back into our community over the course of just a few weeks. So total funds that we anticipate to come back into our community, $1.2, $1.3 million, which is huge, and that's important, especially to the businesses and to our not-for-profits here in our community, because they need to stay solid. And we also have had, believe it or not, even during a pandemic, we've been able to celebrate some new growth with some small businesses here in our community. Bob Michelle Salon and Spa is open. We did a ribbon cutting for her the other day. She was really nervous back in March because she was just fixing to purchase a building. And so she kind of prolonged it a little bit, took some time working on her building, and it looks beautiful. Miss Kim's Fish and Chicken. Thank you, Mr. Washington, for your encouragement to Miss Kim to bring her to the city of Fulton, because I don't know about you, but I've been over there to Columbia many times to eat, and it is good food, so I'm excited about that. Get Loaded Nutrition and Soul Reflections, Wild and Well, Transcendence Coaching, and Reiki. And this was a partnership. They needed some space, and so we partnered them with another business, so they have kind of that shared space. One part uses it during the day, and they use it for their counseling and stuff in the evening. And then the Playhouse Cafe is reopening very soon, so that's really exciting. So I just want to tell you all thank you very much for your support, your continued support for us. And back in May, when I was here, one of the questions that I know Mr. Braun asked me was, what is the unemployment rate? And so I brought that answer with me tonight, so I didn't have to email you all later, but Callaway County is at 5.7% for unemployment right now. The U.S. national average is 8.5%, and Missouri is at a 7.1%. So I will take any questions that you all may have.
Tamara, and maybe I wasn't listening. Maybe you said it and I wasn't listening. But all the money from the Fulton Area Development Foundation that was grant money, that was all CARES Act money?
Yes.
Through the county, is that correct?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. Yeah, we're just administering it, and we have, we do the applications, they turn them into us, and then we process them through the Fulton Area Development Foundation Board of Directors, and then they're turned over to the county, and the county cuts the checks.
Perfect, thank you.
What's the balance on that now? How much money you have left?
For the
CARES Act.
entire
Yeah.
CARES Act, I think it's about 3 million, is that right, Rick?
That's left?
Yes.
Tamara, I don't know if you can answer the detailed question, but on the utility grants, it looks like we've only distributed about a third of the applicants.
Yes.
Is that because it's just they haven't been processed yet, or we've got some failures in the applicants?
Well,
Is there-
that, I think only 3 were waiting on some information to come back. Now, we've had some that came in over the weekend. So those will begin to be processed later this week. And so
Okay.
we try to get several and get those processed, get them through the FADF Board of Directors, and then turn them over to the county, kind of in groups.
Okay.
It's easier to process that way.
But it's a high success rate for the applicants?
Yes.
Wonderful, thank you.
To follow up on that question, is that utility grant, is it only for utilities for April and May, or is that going to possibly be expanded?
That was for April and May, for that time period that the state had this shutdown. So we focused in on that area of time.
Not going to be expanded at this time.
Not at this, thank you. Okay, now I'm going to turn it over to Kim Barnes for the chamber report.
Hello, good evening. Well, here we are again. I'm Kim Barnes. I'm the president of the FADF board. Can you all hear me? Okay. I have a hard time knowing.
Not great.
Okay, I'll,
Thank you, Kim.
how about I try to speak louder?
Just need to
How about
move
I
up.
just move this 2 inches closer and that'll work better? Okay, I'm Kim Barnes. I'm the president of the FADF board, and I'm also the treasurer of the chamber board. Martin Foreman, who is the president of the chamber board, was unable to be here tonight, and so I'm stepping in and speaking on her behalf tonight and the rest of the board. So my topic is the contract for services. I just want to remind everybody, we tend to forget about it because the way we refer to it is we're giving the chamber this much, we're giving the chamber that much. It's actually a contract for services. So it's not a gift, it's an agreed upon arrangement for goods and services that each party agrees to, a mutual agreement. Starting this time last year, we asked for some dialogue because if you guys remember, last year was not a fun time. None of us liked that. We didn't want to be back here again. That open dialogue hasn't really materialized. Only 5 days ago did the chamber receive the contract for services for its consideration. I think you all can maybe agree that 5 days isn't a very appropriate or respectful time frame to ask 2 parties to have a mutual agreement, especially without sitting down and talking about it. Doesn't feel good. Doesn't feel good for any of us to be in this situation, and I know you feel that way too. So my respectful request tonight, please, is that you table the contract on the agenda for your consideration tonight, and that you allow time and expectation for that dialogue to occur. We want that dialogue. It needs to be an open, two-way dialogue. That's how we work best. I think Pastor Williamson said it best. When we work together, we work best. Please, let's work together. I think you all can see that there's good work happening. It doesn't need to be diminished. It doesn't need to be devalued. It needs to be respected and honored and mutually agreed upon. So thank you for your consideration. I appreciate your time, and I appreciate you listening. Thank you.
Thank you both. So what could that look like? A work session or?
I think,
It could look like just about anything. Yeah, I think that discussion could probably take place when we get to that on our agenda tonight.
Very good. So moving on, we've got next on the agenda, Tanglewood Golf Cart lease discussion. Clay?
Thank you. Our current cart lease out of Tanglewood is set to expire in April next year. We solicited bids for new leases from the three major companies, Yamaha, Club Car, and E-Z-Go. The agreement that we found most favorable is the agreement with Yamaha for 60 carts for 6 years. I've highlighted that on the proposal. It also includes a beverage cart and a range picker cart, which have both died on us. They were both pushing 20 years, and they're just not repairable anymore. So we're looking at including those two items in the lease as well. And again, we think that's the most favorable lease. It's an increase from the previous lease. The previous lease was for 5 years. We extended it an additional 2 years, and it was for around $17,000 a year. But at that time, we also had some carts to trade in. This time, we don't have carts to trade in. So we're looking at a considerable increase per year, but we think we can offset that increase by increasing cart fees $1 per year and increasing the greens fees $1 per year. So currently, our highest round of golf that includes a cart is $42. That would take it to $44. So we feel like that's a fairly reasonable increase, and the customers will have new carts. So I guess that's what we're looking at. We don't have a contract. We don't have the lease agreement yet. That'll come later. We have some time for that, to bring that back to the council. But I think what we're asking for tonight is just approval to move forward with Yamaha.
Clay, why wouldn't we look at a 5-year versus a 6-year? The other ones didn't even bid the 6-year. Did you ask for a 5 and a 6-year?
No, that's something that Yamaha proposed. We got 7 out of this current fleet. 7 was probably pushing it. A lot of the seats are torn.
Sure.
The trim's coming off.
It currently started as a 5,
Yeah.
and then we asked them twice, can we go another year?
Yeah. So, I mean, that's why they proposed a 6-year, and we think we can reasonably get 6 years out of a fleet of golf carts. It brings the beverage cart and the range picker cart price down a little bit, and then again, we think it's probably more favorable for us.
Clay, did the RFP include a 6-year option, or was that just
We
something?
did not. We just asked for a 5-year.
Okay. Then how can we consider a 6-year lease based upon the RFP that we put out? I mean, we can't really say that the other two didn't offer us a 6-year when we didn't ask for it.
Yeah.
I guess I'm not understanding that piece.
Well, if we went with the 5-year, we would probably still suggest Yamaha, because their prices were better overall. So that's kind of what we're looking at. We're looking at the numbers, but we're also looking at the quality of the vehicles. The Yamahas get better miles per gallon. We've seen considerable decrease in our fuel costs since we had the Yamahas. And
I guess I'm not disagreeing with the quality of the product. I'm disagreeing with how we're going about awarding a bid when it wasn't how we worded the RFP.
Okay.
That's my concern.
We can take it back to those other two and ask. I believe that the price will probably be greater than what you see here, but we can certainly do that.
Okay. Well, Bill, am I interpreting this incorrectly?
If it was a bid, I would say yes. This is an RFP, we're asking for a proposal. I'm not saying the other companies were offered or requested a 6-year, but Yamaha offered a 6-year. It was give us your best proposal. And even though we may have asked for 5, they included a 6. So it's, I'm not gonna say it's wrong.
Okay.
I will say it would be nice if we would have had a 6-year out of the other companies. But I don't think what we've done is wrong.
Okay. I think it needs to be considered. Granted, we are splitting hairs between an RFP and going out for bid and different things, but I think we should at least ask for them to send us their 6-year proposal, and then we can make a decision on
It's the
that.
middle of October, we have time, they can contact the other companies back and get a 6-year price.
Okay. I mean,
we can
I'm not
easily do that.
comfortable voting on anything for a 6-year when we don't have comparable proposals from the other companies.
But, and I think part of the reason we're bringing it so early is we wanted to get that figure in the budget.
Absolutely.
Something close to that, and let the council know that there was going to be an increase in that expense. So,
I like the idea of a 5-year and turn them over every 5 years and not wait the 6th year to get to where they're in the condition they are that you're saying they are now, where they're torn and ripped up and torn up.
And we can do that.
Period.
I feel like at the 6th year, they were starting to show some wear. This last year, they've really shown some wear. So, but the usage has been up quite a bit. So again, there's a lot more play out there.
That's a great thing.
Yeah, that's a very good thing.
Now, Clay, are we be able to keep the picker cart and the beverage cart when it's all said and done?
No,
they got to give it back?
We would return it. Yes. Yeah. So yeah, I can bring back a 6-year option if they offer a 6-year option.
And you feel like if we did not do a lease and we purchased the carts instead, it would be between $200,000 and $230,000?
Yeah, that's kind of what everybody's talking in that range, depending on if we went with 50 or 60. And again, you're probably looking at doing that again in 5 to 7 years. You might stretch 8 or 9 out, but they're getting pretty bad. They're getting pretty bad condition-wise.
And we didn't get any proposals back from a regional vendor?
As far as?
Well, I know of a regional vendor that deals in these types of vehicles, and we didn't get a proposal back from them?
These are the dealers for these 3 major car companies.
Okay.
These are who we were referred to.
Very good. I would entertain a motion if we feel like this is the right direction.
I would put a motion out there that we table it at this point because we want to wait and see if everybody will come back with a 6-year.
Second.
Yeah.
Very good. I have a motion and a second to table this tonight. Any more discussion on this?
Yes. If we table it to the what? To the next meeting?
It automatically goes to the next meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
That's all.
Gotcha. All right. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
And opposed, no. All right. Thank you, Clay.
Hannah, could we have a brief break?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Brief break. 5 minutes. Okay, back to work. We are going to talk about the Community Center Coca-Cola sponsorship.
All right. Last month or so, we've been meeting with Coca-Cola from Jeff City to talk about an agreement where we would exclusively sell Coca-Cola bottled products at Tanglewood, the pool, and the rec center. We're already currently doing that at Tanglewood and the pool, so we would just add it to the rec center. In return, Coca-Cola has agreed to pay us $14,000 up front, and they would pay us $1,000 a year for each of the 4 years after that. And it's a 5-year agreement. It could end sooner if we meet the volume sales threshold. It could go a little bit longer if it takes us longer to sell that amount. So we feel like it's a pretty good deal, and what we want to use that initial $14,000 for is to put back into the rec center the retractable volleyball goals. We had taken those out originally to try to save some money, but we feel like they'd be very beneficial for us as a staff. And we went out, we found somebody that's willing to sponsor and pay for that item. So I guess we're asking tonight to enter into this agreement. Bill and I talked, there's some concern with the wording as far as what properties this affected. They've sent us back a revision. Courtney, do they have the revision?
They do, yes. Okay. So at your spots tonight, too, have the revised contract.
Under the original proposal, which was may have been in your council packet,
Yes.
the way I read it, it was all city property. Police station, fire station, memorial field, soccer park, warehouse, the vending machine down in City Hall was going to be Coke product. I was like, nah, that ain't going to happen.
Right.
So Clay went back and talked to him and said, we just want Tanglewood, the swimming pool and the rec center. And the document that's laying at your table, I believe, addresses those items perfectly.
And specifically, I think it was page 4 and page 8 where they changed some of the wording to define what facilities they were including in this agreement. So I think it's a good agreement. If we end early, we can enter into a new lease or new agreement with them, so we could ask for more things.
Clay, I think that's an excellent, I think you did an outstanding job in pushing this. I'm all in favor for that volleyball, the gold retractable, because as a volleyball official in most places that I go to, a lot of places, it's hands down. They said if you can get one, get one. So, and I think if somebody's willing to give us that much money to put it in, I got a chance to go out and view the facilities out to the Parks and Rec, talk to the, I guess the foreman out there. I had an opportunity to go and tour it a little bit more since they had it a little more completion. And he said that if we're going to do something, we need to get it done pretty soon. So, because he don't want to drill into the floor or anything a little bit later. So, I like what's going on here, and it looks good to me. If no more discussion, I'll make a move that we accept this proposal.
And I just want to clarify really quickly before we do anything else. You're actually not accepting the contract tonight. It will have to come to you in a resolution at the next meeting. So this is a discussion to make sure that the council's on board before we take that next step.
Amen.
So do we need a motion? Or
No. Not necessarily. I mean, if there's a concern, obviously, I think the discussion was more to air out any of those concerns. And as Bill described, there were some concerns previously about which facilities this was a part of.
The only concern I had with it was that the banquet room was also included in this, so anything you schedule in the banquet room, any weddings or whatever, they would have to use Coca-Cola as their liquid refreshment. So I just wanted to make sure everybody understood that part. Well, I'm not against it, I just wanted you to know that.
I think that's beneficial to us because, one, we'll be able to sell more volume, and then we'll make some profit too there. So I think it probably limits a caterer or something that might come in, but we can have that product available because they'll deliver any day of the week, and we can make sure they have it.
And it's the same for any golf tournaments, that, you know, whoever sponsors the golf tournament would have to buy Coke products,
Right.
hopefully from us.
Well, it has to be.
Yeah.
Has to be from us.
Okay.
Exclusive.
It's exclusive.
And somebody asked me a couple days ago, and I'm assuming that we'll get rid of the fountain at the golf course.
No, we will keep the fountain. The fountain, Coca-Cola doesn't care about the fountains. We have a fountain at the pool as well. We won't have a fountain at the rec center just because we won't do enough volume to keep it fresh. They're not interested in the fountain business. They're not going to provide products for the fountain side of it. Their concern is that we don't sell cans and that we only sell their bottled products.
And does this, again, getting on the conversation with the banquet room, so caterers can't bring in other products or can't be on the premises?
They cannot. You can bring in a product that's for personal consumption, personal use, yeah.
And that's part of the banquet.
The whole facility, yes. The facility, the parking lot, that entire area, yes. We would work into the policies for the banquet rental that we would have this, and this product available for you to purchase.
Okay. But I guess without this agreement, the banquet policy right now is if I wanted a caterer to bring in food items, that's allowed, correct?
Well, there is no banquet policy, but yes, that's it could read like that, yes.
Okay.
Well, just use golf tournaments as an example because we have been doing those.
Right.
And if they wanted a golf tournament, whatever beverages they wanted to serve after the tournament was over with whatever meal they decided to serve was on them. And now it would have to be served through the parks, through the Coca-Cola.
Yes, that's correct.
Have we previously had concerns brought to us from people sponsoring events or from caterers?
No, we have not.
Okay. So nobody's really
But
said,
we haven't been
if
in.
I'm limited,
We haven't
I'm
been
not
in.
going to come here.
Yeah, we haven't been in this
Haven't had
agreement.
type of arrangement before of exclusivity.
Yeah.
And does this provide better pricing than what we would have gotten without this sponsorship?
A little bit, so when I compare it to what Tanglewood was paying, some of the prices were slightly higher, some of them were lower. So I think it's going to balance out.
Okay.
And I think Tanglewood gets some of their pricing based on the volume that they're currently doing.
Okay.
And I think we should note also that Pepsi did have an opportunity to give us a proposal, and they chose not to. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct.
Okay. Thank you, Cliff.
All right.
I still see in here athletic facilities, under the facilities part on page 8, Clay, athletic facilities and concession stands. Is that something that might be able to be removed? I understand that we're here saying the rec center, the pool, and the golf course.
Yeah, we can. They're very easy to work with. If you would like us to have those terms taken out, we can do that. We can ask them for that.
So we can't have a food truck in the parking lot, but it could sit on the curb.
That is correct.
Okay.
That is correct.
What product, I know we didn't use them this year, but what products do we use in the concession stand?
Which concession stand?
At the ball fields, my apologies.
Right now, that's up to the independent contractor. We have independent contractors that run all our concessions. And that's part of the reason why we asked for the clarification, because we don't want to control what they're doing.
Okay. Then yes, let's make sure that we clarify what Councilman Braun brought up about all athletic
We can do that.
facilities.
We can do that. So we'll do
Very
that
good.
before we bring it back.
So we need to sell 385 cases more additional.
Yeah.
Is that a lot? We're adding the rec center.
Yeah, in the rec center, we're selling Coke products, but we're not selling bottles right now at the pool. So we would probably switch to bottled products at the pool. So that's going to help. That number at Tanglewood this year may be pushing 400. So I feel like that's something we could do. And again, if we don't hit it in 5 years, it stretches out to a 6th year. And the benefit for us is if we do it sooner, we can go back and renegotiate the contract and maybe get some additional sponsorship money.
So if it stretches out to the 6th year, we don't get an extra $1,000, right?
No.
We only get $4,000.
That's
Okay.
correct. That's correct. So it's beneficial for us to end the contract in 5 years or less. But again, we're going to be making some profit on this product too. So we can set whatever price we want. Hopefully make some money off of it.
How do you think it's going to affect what we currently do and charge at the swimming pool and at the golf course?
Again, I think we'll probably sell the same amount at the golf course. You know, we're selling pretty much all Coca-Cola products now, plus alcoholic beverages. The pool, we sell Coke products right now. We just sell them out of a fountain, and we could easily sell them out of a bottle.
But you said the cost was going up on cases, on some of them and down on some of them?
Your cost for bottles is always going to be more than fountain.
Sure.
So I see it being a little bit, it's going to cut into the profit margin some, but I don't think tremendously. I think we'll be okay.
Clay, is this an item that'll go through the park board before it comes back to us?
If it comes back in 2 weeks, probably not, no.
Should it go through the park board, or is it necessary to go through the park board?
It can if you would like it to, yes.
Well, I'm asking normal course of business. Is this something that would go through the park board before coming back to us? I don't want to bypass them simply for speed. But if this is not something that would normally be reviewed by the park board, then I'm fine with it.
Yeah, it could be something we take to the park board. I mean, again, usually these kind of agreements we bring straight to the council.
That's my
lease
question.
agreements.
That's my question.
But if it works out that they have a chance to approve it or review it, sometimes we get recommendations from them.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion?
Clay, and I'm sorry, I'm just looking at, for a case of water, we would pay $16.80. That seems extremely high to me.
Well, I can't do the math in my head right now. What is that a bottle?
Well, it's got 70 cents. It's on here.
That's probably about right. I mean, it's not Sam's Choice water.
You're looking
I understand. I get
it's-
that. But do you think somebody really is going to make a big difference of, wow, that water really tastes that much different?
No, but I mean, it's currently the water we're selling right now at some of our facilities.
Are we still going to have water fountains available?
Yes. Yeah.
Then people can bring in their own water bottles if
Yes.
they don't want to pay $1.50, $2 for a bottle of water.
Yeah, at both the pool, at all three facilities, there'll be water fountains available. So.
I just want to add, anything we can do to speed this up, I'd appreciate, to echo what Councilman Washington expressed earlier. There is a impending change order that is required for the job. The community recreation or the contractor is, I really need to get this word and solidified so we can get this going or not going. I don't want him to be asking for more time and everything else. So anything we can do to speed this up. I mean, I don't know if you guys can give Bill a kind of a thumbs up, thumbs down type of thing in an email or in lieu of a resolution, but I would just ask that we.
Well, it sounds like we could have a resolution next
What would
meeting,
what
right?
would the cost of the change order be?
The cost of the change order? Well, right now, I believe it's going to be around that $14,000.
Okay.
The further we delay it, there's general conditions and things like that the general contractor may want to try to tack on. So I believe it'll be somewhere between $14,000 and $15,000, but we've got to get that number from the contractor himself.
So that's the installed price, not installation cost.
Yeah, that's the $14,000 was the original amount that was bid for that apparatus. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Once again, like I said, if we got the money, this is the money, otherwise it'd be coming out of our budget. We're gonna approve something, and this way, this company is willing to do this, that's a no-brainer. I think we need to do it.
Well, you said we need a resolution, right?
We do need a resolution. It was
Which we
not
could have by next
appropriate.
meeting.
It's ready to go,
So it sounds like a minor change to the contract, and the park board take a quick look at it, and we can approve it in 2 weeks.
Well, I stated it wasn't anything that normally went to the park or was required to go to the
Well,
park, so we're fine.
Okay, that's,
That-
whether it needs to go to the park board or not, that's
Yep,
whatever.
that's why I asked the question.
Okay.
What I'm looking at is, we can look at this and can tell the people that are doing it, said, hey, we're in favor of we're going with this program, and we just got to approve it, but at least give them the okay to go ahead and start making preparations. I don't want anybody to come back and renege on it, but I think it's important, if we're going to get it done, let's get it done. Don't just be dragging it for the next meeting.
Does anyone have a problem with that?
Not
We
today.
do.
Not today. 2 weeks from now, it's hard to say.
I mean, we do change orders without city council approval.
Yeah.
And if the city council says they're going to approve the resolution, we'll do the change order. But if there's any consternation on the part of the city council on securing the additional funding for the change order, then we're going to hold off for the resolution.
I think it's important to note, I mentioned this in my memo to the council. Kyle and his staff, my staff, we've done a really, really good job, in my opinion, of cutting expenses. I think when we get done, I hope this number's right, I think we're going to save about $350,000 on this project from what we originally put out there. There's a lot of things that could still pop up, that unexpected expenses and things like that. But I feel like as a city, we've done a good job of looking for ways to save money. We've done a good job of going out and finding additional funding. And I think what you have to consider is if we don't go with this contract with Coca-Cola and we approve the change order, then we're out that $14,000. So that's kind of what we're weighing here.
You almost, maybe I'm reading a little bit into it, but you almost sounded like you know of something else change order wise that might be coming down the road. Is there something else that you can think of, Clay or Kyle?
We're haggling back and forth with the construction company, the architects, over a lot of little things. And whether those things are going to cost us money, we don't know. They may come back to us and say, hey, that's going to cost you $10,000 to do it the way you want. We may say, okay, we're not going to do it that way. We'll be satisfied with what they're offering. But there might be some things that we have to change. And I think it's just things that we didn't realize during the design process, or things that we might want to do a little bit different. So I don't foresee any major expenses, but there could be some smaller ones.
Thank you.
All right, so as long as there's no concern with Bill moving forward with the change order, it sounds like everyone's pretty much on board with that. You'll have a resolution at the next meeting. Is there any concern about that?
I think we just want to clarify the athletic facilities.
Concessions?
Mm-hmm. And other than that, sounds pretty good.
Okay. Thank you, Courtney.
Thank you, Clay.
Moving on, going to talk about the budget a little bit here. Mr. Johnson, if you would.
First off, I'd like to thank all the department heads for being responsive and working with Robert and Kathy and myself for doing a lot of the budget. There's been a lot of time put into this. I think the department heads were very receptive and responsive to the fact that 2021 is going to be a lean year. COVID has hit us. I don't think it's hit us as hard as we expected, but we've had some impact. As I've explained to you in the past, we look at how much revenue we're going to receive, when we look at the kind of the committed expenses to find out what we have kind of left over. Meeting or two ago, you guys indicated what you want to do for raises. That comes out of the surplus. And then we kind of look at the remainder of it going towards capital expenditure. This year, in 2020, I think we purchased 17 new pickups. Who's out there? Who knows? 17 new pickups, 16, 17 new pickups. In next year's budget, we're purchasing one. It's a 1-ton 4-door for the street department. We are doing some other capital expenditures, but as far as vehicle replacement, we're buying Steve a couple of police cars. A part of that's coming out of the anticipated use tax. Kevin is paying back Daryl fully for the purchase of the ladder truck that we acquired from Columbia. So that's going to get retired in 2021. That's listed in the budget. We've been able to maintain a reasonable amount of asphalt and street repairs. So where we do have $700,000 in there for the repair of 2 water towers, but that money is a direct transfer from the capital improvement sales tax that we have an accumulated balance for. But that capital improvement sales tax is dedicated solely to water and sewer improvements. When the citizens voted those 2 debt service issues into place, the first one for sewer in 1996, and the second one for water in 2005, the wording on the ballot was that these monies shall stay for water and sewer improvements. So we're going to take $700,000 this year, or in 2021, to repair a couple of water towers. I think Daryl has some serious money in there for some transformer work, but I think that's going to be all good. If you're opening your budget, probably to page, what I refer to in our book is going to be page 1 and 2, but if you go to pages 15 and 16, pages 15 and 16 tell you pretty much what's going on with the budget. The far right-hand column, the decrease in working capital. You can see all of those funds are in the black through, with the exception of the golf course, through modification of the expenditures. We pretty much know what the revenue stream is going to be, and then we build the expenditures in to meet to what's allowable to keep those funds in the black. Golf course being down $8,000 is a very pleasant surprise. They're having an incredible year this year, but I am not going to take 1 year as being what's going to happen next year. I think a lot of this year is a direct result of COVID, and people are going golfing to be outside and to spend time with their family, to spend time together. And if COVID goes away, which I hope, I believe that the golf course will go back to more normal numbers. I think it might pick up a little bit just because some people have been out and gotten exposed and got hooked, but I think the numbers will go back to a much more reasonable number. Okay? Is there anything else that we need to add or say before we open it up for discussion? It is merely for discussion this evening. I guess on my schedule, if we could talk about that just a little bit, I would hope we could do first read at the next council meeting in October. We would do the second read in the first meeting in November, and we would do the third read at the second meeting in November. Historically, the city council does not ever do 2 reads of the budget in one night. We want to stretch that out, but from tonight, it's going to basically give you, close to 6 weeks to continue to ask questions, to continue to ask clarifications, for us to make modifications to the numbers, to make it a budget that the city council is comfortable in approving. Do you have any questions this evening?
Bill, I have one question. You mentioned the 700,000 for the water tower replacements.
Yes.
Is any of that money reflected in that solid waste? Is any of that reflected on page 15 in the budget, or is that strictly coming out of the reserves that we have?
No, it would show up in the water fund as a transfer in, and then
Okay, so that it's already been reflected in page 15 of the
Yes.
proposed budget?
Yes.
Okay. And then when will we see the proposal for the capital?
It's in there.
Okay.
It's in the. It's either, you can either look at in each fund for a list of their capital, or for the general fund, it's a kind of grouped. And if you look at about the back, 15 to 20 pages, the back 15 to 20 pages is pure capital.
Okay.
Just page after page of capital. By department, by fund.
And are those capital expenses reflected on page 15?
Yes, if it's listed in the 2021 column.
Okay, thank you.
There are multiple columns on the capital improvements page, but the 2021 numbers are contained within the budget.
I misunderstood what you were saying earlier. I thought this was the proposal, and then that overage is what you were going to be looking at towards capital.
No.
The capital is already included in this proposal.
Capital is included in this proposal.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that clarification.
A few months ago, the mayor and I sat down and we did a preliminary cut on some of the capital to get it down to a manageable number. And then I had a meeting with the department heads and let them do some additions and subtractions within a given range. Kind of like tonight, Robert has the budget on the screen. As we would work through that meeting, he would make kind of changes on the fly to keep that far right-hand column, the increase, decrease in the black.
Okay, thank you.
So, we talked about golf carts, and we talked about spending more money on golf carts, but yet we're still, by your numbers, we're still a negative, and we talked about increasing $1 to carts and $1 to a round. If we increased $2 per round and $1 for carts, that would make us whole, would it not?
Clay, I'm going to say yes to that number because we would do more than 8,000. Oh, we do more than 8,000 rounds.
Sure.
Yeah. So the answer to that is yes.
And that would put us at what, Clay, for a round of golf? Cart included.
Is it
It's
44?
You say 44, so if you add $2, it'd be 46.
You proposing two and two? Is that what you're?
2 and 2 or 2 and 1?
Yeah, 46. I mean, but what you got to consider is that this year's budget, I don't know what deficit is showing, quite a bit more than 8,000. So the $2 is to help offset that expense. If we have a year like we're having this year, where we may do 800,000 in revenue, that number is going to be not a loss of 8,000.
If we have a year next year like we did this year, it will not end up negative.
Yeah. And what I showed you in that dollar increase is a previous 4-year average. If I took the last 2 years' average, those numbers are quite a bit higher. But I was trying to be somewhat conservative.
We have the nicest public golf course, one of the nicest public golf courses in the state.
And Clay probably at the next meeting is going to come with another proposal for $50,000 worth of leased equipment.
He meant to say 55,000.
I mean, I think he said 50,000.
Does that get us all new leased equipment?
It will cover about, right now we're looking at replacing about 250 to 300,000.
Because, I mean, that was one concern that we had when we went out there as a council, that some of their equipment was
we have
old.
Yes, we have about $500,000 worth of equipment that needs to be replaced if we replaced it all with brand new equipment. This lease that we're talking about would replace about 250 to 300,000 of that equipment. Some of the items we'll keep. We'll just kind of get along.
So,
but it's a more complicated lease, and we started at 63 or 65,000. Bill requested that we bring that number back down to 55. So here in the last week, the vendor's working on bringing that number down to 55,000.
but with all the same stuff that you requested initially.
Maybe not. Well, there may be some give and take on it. So yeah. So we'll have to see what he comes back with. And a lot of the equipment that we're leasing is stuff that's coming off lease. So it's used equipment.
There's 55 in the budget.
Was it 55? Okay.
2 in 1.
So that proposal
But
is.
2 in 1 increase and
Yeah,
give
but
them the equipment
the
that they
leased
need.
equipment proposal and the golf cart proposal numbers are in that number.
Okay.
And I'm not going to bring you back anything over 55.
Okay.
So hopefully it'll be a little bit less.
So you would.
How are you determining what equipment they would or wouldn't get? If we're going to talk about this at another time, that's okay.
Our golf course superintendent, he's looking at what he needs the most, the oldest equipment, the stuff that's breaking down, the stuff that's having hydraulic leaks up and down the fairways. Stuff that's 20 years old, it needs to be replaced.
Isn't that the lines that I'm supposed to stay at?
Yeah. And, and we're looking at fairway mowers. If a fairway mower will cost $60,000 if I have to buy a new one tomorrow.
This is all coming to us at the next meeting, correct?
I hope so, yes. That's what we're working on. They've been working on it for about a week. I've been kind of pushing them along, but yeah, it's the numbers in the budget. We're going to bring back something that's it defines the lease a little bit better.
Thank you.
As other questions come up throughout the week or weeks ahead, Bill's available to get answers for
I want to
you
make
guys
sure
too.
that every council person has all the time in the world they want to talk about.
Clay,
Yes.
so I have a question.
Okay.
Again, the rec center, you're showing $28,000 from William Woods in Westminster. Have they agreed to that?
They have not. That's something we're going to approach them once the facility is close to opening, put together a proposal, meet with both universities,
Okay.
and go.
And on the rec center, the numbers that Clay had proposed, they have all been cut to 75% of the amount that was proposed.
Right.
With the thought that we will be opening in April, with the exception of that college money. The college money was cut in half.
Well, that's because we're only looking at one semester.
We would only be looking at the
Right.
second semester next year rather than the full year.
But if we haven't even talked to the colleges to see if they're willing to raise the student fees $10 a person, is that something we should be putting in the revenue for the rec center?
I think you can put it in there just as much as our projections for membership. Again, it's a goal. It's something we have to work towards. If we don't get $20,000 from the colleges, we got to work hard to find it somewhere else. So that's the final number is a goal, and that's what we're going to work towards. And I doubt it looks exactly like it looks on paper right now. It'll be totally different. The revenue numbers will be different. We may have more of this membership versus this membership, and I don't think you can get caught up in how we're going to do it. We just got to work hard to meet those numbers.
I think we're kind of being unreasonable. It would be nice to meet those goals, but I think we need to be a little more conservative. But I'm one of 8, so.
We have to have a starting point at some point to say this is.
It's just, to me, it looks like we're starting way up here, not down.
And I would, Ballard, I would disagree with that in the fact that we've looked at other local facilities, and they're doing revenue numbers much, much higher than what we're projecting. And I understand that we're new. We got to develop that membership base, that revenue base, and it's going to take a little bit of time.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we were really, really conservative in our revenue projections.
And I think, again, Bill has mentioned, we're going to bring this to you guys for first reading. There's going to be plenty of time to look at those specific numbers as well. We'll have our public hearing on that as well at our first meeting in November, so we have a lot of time to really review those numbers and estimates moving forward.
Are there any other questions this evening?
Very good, we'll move on. Next item up is the December meeting schedule. Courtney?
Yeah, so historically, we only have one meeting in December due to the holidays. So basically what Bill and I are asking tonight is that we have a motion in order to move forward as we normally do.
Make a motion that we only have one meeting in the month of December, and that meeting be the 15th.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any discussion on this? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
And opposed, no. Okay, moving on to resolutions. Councilman Stone, if you would present resolution number 3383.
Really quickly, Mayor, did we skip council consent?
Oh, we did. I'm sorry.
I'm not opposed to skip. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
It's been a long night. So yeah, we'll do that. I'll start to my left, Ballard.
No items.
Mr. Stone,
None this evening, Mr. Mayor.
Ms. Pacenuck.
I was not at the last meeting, so I'm not sure if we discussed the mask ordinance again.
I don't believe the topic was brought up. Yep.
I know that city numbers have been increasing, so I don't know if that's something that we want to take a look at. They're not super high, but where is our threshold of when we're going to say, okay, enough is enough, we all need to mandate wearing masks? Because, middle of last week, we're around 13, 14, then it jumped up to 19, now we're at 25, I believe. So, if we are concerned about cold weather and, possibility of the flu exacerbating things and, if we want to get this on our agenda soon, it might be a good time to look at it.
The resolution is ready to go. We've just kind of been waiting to hear.
Can we, has that been passed out to us so that we can take a look at it?
Yeah, it was passed out at the end of August in email.
Okay, like the exact wording for us? Okay.
Yes, and I want to clarify too, that ordinance was derived from the Springfield
Right.
ordinance, and that is the one that also includes our attorney, Tom Riley's changes as well.
Okay, I'll go back and look through that.
Yes, and actually I know that we've kind of been asked this a couple of times, just for clarification, I'll go ahead and send it out again tomorrow, that way you guys
That would
don't
be
have to go
wonderful.
searching.
Thank you, Courtney.
Yeah.
I will say I've seen a lot more masking. I think we're in for a tough winter maybe. But I'm proud of our citizens. We've really been doing pretty good. Everywhere I go, I see them almost on everyone now. So.
I don't agree with that.
Okay.
All right. Anything else, Ms. Payson?
That's all. Thank you.
All right. Mr. Shiverdecker.
I'm good, thank you.
Mr. Washington.
I'm with Councilman Lindsay. I believe that we do need to bring back the mask situation so we can have further discussion on it. I am concerned about the numbers in especially the Fulton area, but the numbers are really rising. And as she said, with the cold weather situation is upon us, we might be seeing a little bit more increase. it just seems like the increase is coming all over the country. And then especially in Missouri, it seems like our numbers, it just keeps rising and rising. So I am concerned that we need to at least look at and discuss and possibly talk about if we being prepared to implement it and if we need to do so. So I think more discussion needs to be discussed on that.
Very good, and I believe we could enact it really quickly if we felt like the numbers are where they need to be. We could, correct me if I'm wrong, Courtney, but we could do that via email even if we had to.
I would not like to see us go down that path, but we could do an emergency ordinance where we enacted it all in one night. That would probably be the best bet. Certainly, we could do it, all 3 readings in one night.
Yeah.
And we could call a special meeting to do that if we needed to as well. We just need 24 hours notice.
Mr. Mayor, also, I have seen areas that have improved in their mask wearing, but there are some areas in Missouri, in some of our local businesses, just, it goes back to, like I said, it's probably 75% not wearing masks in a couple of our businesses that in our town. So I am concerned about that.
Very good. All right, Councilman Braun.
I am very good tonight, thank you.
Councilwoman Recluse.
Yeah, I just have a sign that needs to be notices on First Street and, see how I'm located on as you go up First Street, the street sign is missing, full top. I'm gonna make a chance. Take a look at that sign.
Kyle's making note.
Thank you. That's all I have tonight.
All right, Councilwoman Seebacher.
I have nothing, thank you.
All right, very good. All right, now we'll move on to resolutions. Councilman Stone, if you would present Resolution 3383.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Resolution number 3383, a resolution authorizing the mayor and city clerk on behalf of the city of Fulton, Missouri, to enter into an agreement with the Callaway Chamber of Commerce of Fulton, Missouri for services to be rendered in 2021 and establishing an effective date. For purposes of discussion, I move that we approve resolution number 3383 at tonight's meeting.
Second.
Okay, got a motion and a second. Of course, we've heard from Tamara and Kim tonight, and they would like to have some more discussion on this.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
If I could, I would like to take and table Resolution 3383 to allow time for discussion to happen, please.
Second.
Very good. I have a motion and a second. So what would a meeting like that look like, do we think? Could we set up?
Well, we could certainly set a timeline if you'd like to.
Possibly a Zoom meeting? I don't know. Is that something that people would prefer? We'd get maybe more participation?
Well,
We only have so many nights to get this, get this approved, so we need to.
Well, we have till January 1, correct? That's when it actually expires, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct. You do have until January 1, but you also have budget considerations to make as well. But you're correct. January 1 is when a new contract will go into effect.
Mr. Mayor, I inferred from the conversation earlier in the agenda that the chamber and the other board feel that there wasn't enough conversation between the city leaders and themselves. So I guess my suggestion would be for that discussion to continue. And then we also have a Zoom meeting with the city council to discuss the details of that conversation. It sounded like there were areas of their discussion that they wish to continue with the city leaders before we pass this resolution and sign the contract.
That actually might be more productive.
Can we ask them what they would maybe like to do, what they'd like to see, how you'd like that meeting to look?
We would be happy to participate in any discussion, any discussion. It probably would be more productive if it were in a conference room setting, right, with all parties around the table, represented by the city and represented by the chamber, and also the FADF, because those organizations overlap. So you're hitting two birds with one stone here, so to speak. However you want the discussion to occur, we're there.
And I would mention that it's quite possible for us to set up a meeting, as Kim is talking about, and have, as we've done in other situations where we have some representation from the city council, maybe a member or two, and then we typically try to send you guys either the notes from those discussions or make sure that you're fully aware of the discussions that happen. I think that might be a little bit easier rather than trying to set up two separate meetings before our next council meeting. Just seeing who we have from the council that's available, if that's the direction you want to take, and then making sure everyone else that couldn't attend is aware of those discussions.
I'd be happy to make myself available for that conversation, Madam Clerk.
I would too, please.
Sounds good. We'll be in contact, and
Thank you very
we'll
much.
get it set
We
up.
appreciate
Yes-
that.
Yes, ma'am. So we have a motion to table this on the floor. Is there any more discussion at this time? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
And opposed, no. All right, we'll dig into this a little bit as soon as possible here. All right, next up, we have ordinances. Councilman Braun, if you would present bill number 1595.
Bill number 1595, an ordinance authorizing the mayor on behalf of the city of Fulton, Missouri, to execute an agreement with the county of Callaway, Missouri, for public emergency communication operation services for the city of Fulton for the years 2021 through 2022. I make a motion to move Bill 1595 to a second reading at the next regularly scheduled meeting.
Second.
I met with Gary Youngerman following his submission of the proposal for, this is actually a reduction in our rate. This year, we're actually paying $190,414. He's proposing a reduction down to $182,838, and he's requested a 2-year agreement just so that we don't have to do this again next year. It's actually, the rates have actually come down in the last few years. 10 or 15 years ago, they went up substantially, but they've been working for the past 6 or 7 years to bring those rates down. And I haven't heard, I don't know whether Steve and Kevin I don't know what their perception of the dispatch center is anymore, but I haven't heard too many comments out of them over the past 6 to 12 months, so I'm assuming that the dispatch center is doing a great job.
I do see in one spot in the agreement that probably should be looked at and updated. Under annual fee for service and agreement, it says for 2017, the city of Fulton will pay
I will let Mr. Youngerman know. We received this as a PDF from him, so we'll let him know and we'll get that changed.
Thank you.
Yes.
Very
I
good.
think we're
Not
past
too often.
2017.
It's not too often prices go down, so that's fantastic. Any discussion on this? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
And opposed, no. Moving on, Councilwoman Pace Nook, if you would present bill number 1596.
Yes. Bill number 1596, an ordinance amending section 110-248, speed limits, paragraph 3, Fulton City Code, by designating a speed limit for certain streets and establishing an effective date. I make a motion to place bill number 1596 for second reading at our next scheduled meeting.
Second.
Very good. We kind of had a little bit of a talk the other day about this, Bill and I and Kyle. I think you were in a meeting about the fact that we currently don't contact residents that live on these streets when we make changes like that beforehand, so they can have some input It just seemed like that might be something we should start doing. I don't.
Okay, well, I can speak to that a little bit because I am the one that asked for it to go to the Traffic Commission because I did have citizens that are in my ward, on my street, that had the concern and were very concerned about it, so that's why it came to the commission.
Gotcha. Yep. So I think it's a valid concern, and I don't know if that's something that we need to send to the Traffic Commission first to see their thoughts on it, because it's going to affect them.
Well, it did go to the Traffic Commission.
No, I
think
mean
what
the
we
fact
are-
of changing our policy to reflect that we should notify the residents beforehand.
On the next one.
I think that'd be a perfect discussion for the traffic commission to decide how they wish to communicate and get feedback. And it feels like that's part of the traffic commission bubble.
That's what I thought too,
Yep.
Jeff. Yep. So I don't know when they meet next, but maybe we could put that on the agenda and have y'all talk about it and maybe bring a recommendation back to us
For the next one.
for the next one.
Not for this one.
And just to clarify, you guys also got these minutes at the last meeting. This is for the Herring subdivision to take all of the streets in that ordinance to 25 miles an hour. And yes, that did go to the Traffic Commission and receive their recommendation.
Very good. I have a motion and a second on the floor. Is there any more discussion or questions?
One just split a hair since I heard Courtney say it out loud. And I don't even know how to word it, but I know what the Herring subdivision means, but as the Herring subdivision is also expanded in many years and all of that, so I guess
And
we
that's
might
why-
in the future maybe we might need a list of the streets that are impacted for us to review so that we recognize it. I mean, I know what we're talking about when we say Herring subdivision, but then I start thinking, well, does it actually include this street that's all the way south that was just added?
Right, and
It's
that
in-
was one thing that I did get, just for clarification for my purposes as well. I got that clarification from Kyle and from the engineering department. So in our ordinance, we have to state out all of those
Right.
specific streets. We can't just say the Herring subdivision of,
Right.
So, yeah.
But maybe
think
even in our
moving-
notes is what I'm asking for in the
Yeah.
future. Again, even just in our council notes, just to recognize it.
Yeah, okay.
Jeff?
Yep, it's all listed out in the ordinance. Okay, thank you. Then I'll refer to the ordinance.
Very good. I have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
And opposed, no. All right. Okay, we have second reads. Councilwoman Seebacher, if you would present Bill number 1593.
Yes, sir. Bill number 1593, an ordinance of the City of Fulton, Missouri adopting floodplain management regulations designed to protect the health, safety, and general welfare of the public. I make a motion to place Bill number 1593 for third reading at the next regularly scheduled council meeting.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
And opposed, no. Did you say for third read tonight?
No.
You didn't? Okay. I didn't think I heard that, but I miss that sometimes. Okay, moving on, Councilman Simmons, if you would present Bill number 1594.
Yes, sir. Bill number 1594, an ordinance amending section 110-248, speed limits, paragraph 2, Fulton City Code, by removing a street designated as a school zone and establishing an effective date. I make a motion we advance Bill number 1594 to third and then final reading at tonight's meeting.
Second.
Very good. I have a motion and a second. In case you weren't, I don't think you were here for this, Lindsay. This is where KCA, the school, is no longer where it is.
Right.
Just to move those back to their original speed limits. All right. Any discussion on this?
Minor one.
Yep.
In the traffic meeting minutes, there's a whole bunch of things. One of them is Wood Street speed limits in front of Bush Elementary. I don't know if that's included in this or not.
No.
Okay.
No, it's not.
Okay, so that'd be a separate ordinance. But, oh, by the way, they say 7:30 to 4. All the other signs say 7:30 to 4:30.
Okay.
Just,
Okay.
okay, that's it. Thank you.
All righty. Any other discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
And opposed, no. And if you would again.
Okay. Bill number 1594, an ordinance amending section 110-248, speed limits, paragraph 2, Fulton City Code, by removing a street designated as a school zone and establishing an effective date. I make a motion we advance bill number 1594 tonight to final reading.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. You've heard the bill read 3 times. I would ask Madam Clerk to take a roll call for final vote.
Ms. Reclue?
Yes.
Ms. Sabacher?
Yes.
Mr. Shiverdecker?
Yes.
Mr. Simmons?
Yes.
Mr. Stone?
Yes.
Mr. Washington?
Yes.
Mr. Braun?
Yes.
And Ms. Pace Snook?
Yes.
8 council members affirmative.
Very good. Bill number 1594 is passed. We have a third reading tonight. Councilman Washington, if you would present bill number 1591.
Bill number 1591, an ordinance reclassifying under the zoning ordinance a tract of land known as 410 South Business 54 in Fulton, Missouri, and establishing an effective date. I move that we move bill number 1591 for final reading tonight.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion on this? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor say yes.
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 Opposed, no. You've all heard the bill read 3 times. At this time, Madam Clerk, if you would take roll call for final vote.
All right, Ms. Sabacher?
Yes.
Mr. Shiverdecker?
Yes.
Mr. Simmons?
Yes.
Mr. Stone?
Yes.
Mr. Washington?
Yes.
Mr. Braun?
Yes.
Ms. Pace Snook?
Yes.
And Ms. Reclue?
Yes.
8 council members affirmative.
All right, bill number 1591 is passed. We have a couple of announcements. Fall trash pickup will be held the week of October 19th through the 23rd. Saturday, the 24th will be the final household hazardous waste day of the year. And the next council meeting will be held Tuesday, October 27th at 6:30. I do not have a need for executive session.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Yes.